Hey folks, it's Symbolic. This is just a video on humor. I thought I would do one on humor. You know, I was thinking about humor and the elements of humor. You can break it down into various kind of elements. I think humor gives us the ability to pull back from a situation and see it in its entirety. In that sense, humor is somewhat transcendent. But there are elements, what makes things funny. There are elements of disproportion in it, or elements of absurdity. Also maybe an element of the unexpected or surprise. Now, I tend to want to draw distinguish between comedy and humor. I'm almost tempted to say that comedy is laughing at others, and humor is laughing at ourselves. And the best comedy, or the highest form of comedy, if you will, is the comedy in which we are identifying with the character or identifying with what is common in all of us. And so we are simultaneously laughing at ourselves while we laugh at the players who are enacting, say, a situation comedy, who are enacting, the common flaws that we all share, because we're not so distant that we're laughing at someone. Certain forms of comedy are cruel. You can have jokes. Jokes always have a target. Or you can have the classic vaudeville sketch of the man, a very elegant man, very elegantly dressed, who suddenly slips on a banana peel. In a sense, we're alienated from that person. It becomes funny. It can be funny. It's less funny with time to me, but we can alienate ourselves through comedy and become uncompassionate, whereas the best humor, I think, is always compassionate. Humor, is it the opposite of seriousness? Seriousness. Without seriousness, we have no depth. Without humor, what do we have? How would we complete that sentence? Those parallel sentences. Without seriousness, we have no depth. Without humor, we have no... I don't know. In a way, I think that humor is a necessary balance to seriousness, keep seriousness healthy. Otherwise, we can become too obsessed, too dark in seriousness, too burdened by the seriousness. And we could take ourselves too seriously. When was the last time that any of us really laughed at ourselves? That can be very, very healthy, to laugh at ourselves, to really see ourselves for the absurd aspect of ourselves, and it keeps us humble in that regard, and it keeps things in proportion. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and therefore we're less likely to take ourselves too importantly, be too arrogant in a sense. So I would say the proper balance of seriousness and humor are both necessary. What other elements are there to humor? Spontaneity is great in humor, when we can make it spontaneous. That in itself is kind of interesting, maybe because quite a bit of it is sort of unexpected, and I kind of think humor, takes us out of our normal programming and paths that our brain automatically follows, and then we experience some sort of freedom from that. There's a certain degree of freedom in humor, but as I say, if we become detached on the level of the heart, it can be very cruel. Jokes, I mentioned that jokes usually have a victim. This is why jokes can be a very terrible thing. It can do a lot of damage to people. On the other hand, there are times when there's comedy, and that a similar type of comedy is justified. For instance, satire or farce, particularly satire, can be salubrious in that it will take apart pretense, especially if someone has power. If someone is either has power or is attempting to gain power, and they merely have a veneer of justice, and we want to break through that. Satire can be a very, very effective tool, and it's recognized as an important component in society. It's protected legally. And who else would we be tempted to satirize, except for people who have undue power or influence? So just some thoughts. Hope everybody's doing well, and I don't know. At this point, I should really say something funny, but I can't think of anything to say. You guys all take care. Bye.